In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, please be seated. Last week in this church, a miracle occurred. Nothing supernatural, no flashes of light, no sound of thunder, but a miracle nevertheless, at least in my book. The miracle was born out of love, out of compassion, out of the caring for the needs of a human being which God has placed within our midst. The miracle was carried out by an act of God through the actions of God's people. Most of you were here when it happened, some not, but everyone will be on the receiving end of this very tangible miracle. You will experience not only the effects of the end result, but also in the making of this miracle. To some of you, I say that you may not have seen it because it took place last week during the 10:30 service. But don't feel left out if you weren't here, because you, as a parish community, no matter what service you attend, are part of that miracle also. You are part of that miracle because you were here last week, and you are here again today, and you faithfully attend. But most of all, you truly believe that God does work through the power of the Holy Spirit in this congregation. Our gospel reading today is about finding something, searching for something that is lost, and how we can set aside for just a moment everything else that is going on around us so that we can search for that which is missing. Our gospel talks about the lengths we will go in order to seek out and welcome the presence of God in our lives. The gospel message is about stopping and searching and then welcoming. Some traditions might see it as saving, but saving is more about power and control. You know, you can't be part of the club because you aren't saved. The gospel, when viewed through the lens of our tradition as Anglicans, is more about welcoming and rejoicing. Our understanding of the gospel is more deeply rooted in a relationship of community and intimacy, of radical inclusion. The woman in Luke's gospel this morning who searches for that one lost coin, dropping everything, lighting her lamp and searching for that which has been lost or misplaced. Like us, when we realize that our own lives, or the life of someone we love and we care about, has become lost and misplaced through neglect, or carelessness, or just mere happenstance, we start searching. Or the shepherd who realizes that just a single sheep in his flock has come up missing, or is lost, is the example of Jesus' second example in this parable. The shepherd who deliberately leaves the flock and searches for this one sheep, which huddles in fear, knowing that in being alone it is vulnerable and susceptible in a harsh and an uncaring environment. Both of these individuals stop what they are doing, set aside everything else for the moment to search and to bring back into the fold that which had, for the moment, been separated from their grasp. And then rejoice with everyone in the community as they welcome back that which had been lost. The words of the hymn I am reminded of that say, "I once was lost, but now I am found." It is a cause for celebration, because it is a metaphor for the joyous welcome that God extends to all of God's children everywhere. All of us can recognize the impact we can have in this world when we abandon a selfish tendency that we may have just for a moment and search through the redemptive love of God in order to seek out that one lost, or hurting individual. Searching, loving, welcoming leads to miracles beyond our wildest expectations. You might have missed it at first, but even if you were not there, you were a part of it because you're a part of this greater congregation. You are here today to reinforce the love that God has for every single one of us. Last Sunday at this service, we watched a miracle unfold before our very eyes. What happened was profound enough that it will be talked about for a long time after some of us are gone. Last week, I paused before the offertory and told of how our choir director, David Park, was confined to his home on Sunday morning, as he is again this morning, unable to take his place at the organ bench and play because he had lost his sight to the point that he could not read the music or see the keys in order to play, that his sight had degenerated so quickly, so profoundly. Dr. Park, who works 2 part-time jobs and is unable to obtain medical insurance, was robbed of the ability to share his gift of music and was awaiting help from the Florida Division of Blind Services to help cover the cost of surgery which was required to restore his eyesight. Yet even with this surgery, he would not be able to have the full use of his eyesight without corrective and cumbersome special glasses. What we needed last week was a miracle. Well, Deacon Lorna offered prayers. I asked you, the congregation, for help in raising funds to pay for the needed surgery. We placed a simple handmade straw basket at the steps of the chancel, and then we sat down. And then one lone individual from the choir stood before the entire congregation, convinced that he was too nervous to utter a single sound from within his body. Sandra Greenland sat at the piano and played the most beautiful music. And Hosea, who stood nervously to sing, hands clasped in anticipation, began to sing the most profound and moving music that has been heard during this service in my 10 years at this parish. Everything just seemed to come together in that one moment. The powerful music of the piano, coupled with the resonance of a voice gifted by God, held all of us, the entire congregation, in a cradle of prayer and determination, the likes of which I had never experienced. When Hosea concluded, the entire congregation, all of you, leapt to their feet in appreciation and in awe. Something big had just happened. A miracle. We had asked for money. We had asked for prayers. We had asked for something that I would have thought would have been impossible, quite frankly. What we received last week was the presence of God delivered through the voice and the hands of 2 humble musicians in concert with a very, very generous, loving, and welcoming congregation. All of you. I have no other way to explain it than to say that we were dwelling at the time in the midst of a miracle. I believe that we were definitely in one of those thin places I talk about, that liminal space. The Holy Spirit working through a gathered community who had set everything aside to search for that which was missing. Eyesight, a choir director, a musician, and the means to bring it all back home to this church. The words to describe it actually fail me. I think you needed to be there to really get it. Nevertheless, it happened. That was about as close to God as I have been for a very long time. And it meant so much more to me because it happened not alone and off in some ethereal place, but right here in this parish with all of you. In the midst of a loving community searching for the kingdom of heaven, surrounded by a broken world. In less than 30 minutes, during a service celebrating the presence of God through the body of Jesus Christ, right here, less than 15 feet from where I am standing, you, the 1030 congregation, raised over $4,000. The presence of God is everywhere we go. God is everywhere, always. We are that single sheep that huddles beside a rock on a sloping hillside, seeking protection from the predator who surrounds us at every single turn. Our lives are the lost coin sought out by the light of Christ. God is asking us to set aside what we are doing just long enough to seek those who need the comfort of an outstretched hand. God is asking us to sit quietly and unafraid in the darkness as God seeks us out. Allow God to pick you up and carry you back into the fold of a loving community, and celebrate the real presence of Christ among us in this Holy Communion that we will celebrate this morning. This is why we come to church. This is why we come to church. If you are not here, you might miss the miracle. And it was awesome. Amen.